Everyone's skin reacts differently to UV rays or to being out in the sun or hanging out by the pool or on vacation. And how you prep your skin to be in the sun or how you prep your skin to actually have a sunless tan is really different as well. The female male ratio for us is probably 90% women right now that are our customers, but our franchisees are about 50-50. And oftentimes our male franchise partners have come to us because they see the unit economics, they see the opportunity in the way that the world is moving.
On average, men spend approximately $1,800 annually on health and wellness compared to 1044 for women.
Welcome to this week's episode of Lifts, a podcast that explores new trends and deeper ideas shaping the health and wellness space. Today, we've got a great conversation that we hope will inspire you. I'm here with my co-host, Mo. Mo, how are you doing today?
Matthew, I'm doing great, and we have a fantastic guest who I'm excited to introduce. We wanted to do something a little bit different. You and I talked about at the end of last year, we want to incorporate more wellness, more personal kind of fitness and wellness things that you and I do, and maybe try to bring in some guests who are in the periphery of our typical audience. So I'm really excited to introduce Tori Johnston, who is the CEO of goGLOW. Tori is a seasoned leader in health, wellness, and the fitness industry. She is stepping into her new role as brand president, bringing with her a wealth of experience and expertise. She has a proven track record of success at brands such as SoulCycle, Exponential Fitness, Myo Detox, and Pvolve. Tori is a seasoned executive, and we are excited to have you on. So, Tori, welcome to Lifts.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. No stranger to the fitness world, but excited to tell you what I've been up to in the beauty and service space.
One of the things I was doing prior to this, because I used to be years ago in my younger years, I did these bodybuilding competitions, and I actually always used to be going to these tanning salons. And I think sort of in the late 80s, early 90s, it was a huge boom. Everybody had tanning beds, and then obviously things changed, and there was the whole health scare, which I'm sort of seriously concerned about now as I'm in my 50s. But just for everyone, because you've got a slightly different spin on it, give us a little bit of a background on where that space has come from, and how it's reinvented itself. And I'm talking about, really, I suppose, tanning, or how you define that today.
Absolutely. I mean, the sunless tanning and skincare industry is about $11 billion industry, and people's desire to have a natural glow or be tan has not changed over the course of the past 30 years. So, what you're talking about, a traditional, lay down tanning bed that we all know is not great for your skin or your body now, was very common in the past 20 or 30 years. Only till recently have we been able to, introduce new products and services that really don't harm your body in the way that it used to. And so I currently am the president of a company called goGLOW, which is a skin care brand, but also a sunless tanning company and franchise where, we use the eco-friendly DHA, vegan products, paraben-free, sulfate-free, cruelty-free, to really perfect that same glow without really having to damage your skin. So the business has come a long way, and we're continuing to evolve as we, move into this next wave of self care.
And you've also, this industry is relatively new. I mean, I'd love to understand for the audience, tanning has been around for a really long time. I grew up in northern New Jersey, and I think there was a company called um, California Tan, I believe that's the name of it. I don't know if that's still around or not, but they were all over. But those are the more traditional kind of tanning boots, and I think they would then start introducing spray tanning. But this is like in the '90s, right? And I lived in Jersey, so before the summers, I remember a lot of my friends would go get their
Mhm.
tan on, and they would create what's called the base tan before they go bake on the beach. I mean,
Sure.
there's then been education around health, and some of the data that I've seen come out is that maybe the sun isn't that bad for you, but it's also not the best thing for you. And when you and I connected a couple of weeks ago, you were kind of explaining to me how the offering that you have can actually be good for you in
Mhm.
some ways as well. Can you speak a bit more about like the health issues, whether they are valid or not valid, and kind of how this offering is a bit different?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's skin reacts differently to UV rays or to being out in the sun or hanging out by the pool or on vacation. And how you prep your skin to be in the sun or how you prep your skin to actually have a sunless tan is really different as well. And the aftercare. So at goGLOW, we've really designed a service and a skincare line to help you every step of the way. So, what are you going to do before you come in for your spray tan? We've got products and solutions ready for you to purchase and use to make sure that your skin is ready to be treated with that DHA. Then you come in for your service. It takes about 5 minutes, 20 minutes in total. You leave with a glow. That DHA starts to kind of set in and really looks amazing the next day. And after that, you can extend your care as well. So we have a skincare line that's going to help you keep that tan going. What we don't recommend is going out in the sun and baking by the pool, no matter who you are. So it really does take that proper skincare education to make sure that you actually are taking care of your skin. But we have these solutions and these products that are going to enhance the year before, during, and after of your goGLOW service.
One of the things, well, a lot of the people that listen to the podcast are they're in the health and fitness space, have some kind of bricks and mortar facility. Which, going back into my early years in the industry, you would always have you for some reason going to the gym and going to the tanning room seemed to be kind of they always seem to be married together. So with I've been looking on your Instagram site, and you've got some really absolutely beautiful standalone locations where
Mhm.
obviously people can go and do this. Do you see within your business model having some sort of like studio within like a clubbing club type of concept? Yeah, well, yeah, maybe answer that one first.
Yeah, we get calls all the time. We get calls from big box gyms or other, kind of multi-use spaces that want to offer spray tanning. What we're really focused on right now is building out the brick and mortar stores so we can service more people during the busiest seasons of the year. So our studios have 5 or 6 rooms in them that are operating at any given time. Again, you can do 3 or 4 services in an hour, and that really speaks to the opportunity around the unit economics of the franchise experience. It is a little harder to do something that's outside of our stores, just given the actually proprietary equipment. So, what I didn't mention before in the spray tanning world is that it's very common for spray tanning to be done in a tent that someone brings to your house or against a wall that they kind of spray and hope that it gets on the right parts of your body. We actually have proprietary machines that have a patent on our air filtration system. So, the solutions themselves, as they're being sprayed onto you, are being pulled back into this air filtration system, and you're not ingesting it. That's important to us for your long-term lung health and just your health in general. But it's hard to bring that on the road. This machine is, big, weighs a few hundred pounds, and is not necessarily something you can pop up and do. But we get calls all the time and a lot of knocks on the door to open these within a box. And never say never, but the focus right now is really on the brick and mortar.
Makes
Well,
sense.
recently, I just want to go back to something which you talked about, which is the unit economics for your franchisees. Recently, there have been a couple of acquisitions, which we've talked about
Mhm.
on the Lifts podcast. More recently, Barry's Bootcamp finally transacted to Princeton Equity Group. And the Princeton Equity Group obviously has a lot of experience in fitness. They're kind of well known in the category. They have, I believe, about $1.3 billion with assets under management. And North Castle Partners has been a long time investor and major proponent and supporter. I mean, anytime I see John, he's talking about how wonderful Barry's is, that he's actually a user of Barry's, and he tries to get me to go all the time. I love the workouts, but I do know that they have been trying to transact for quite some time. And they started the process once a couple of years ago. They stopped because of COVID. They restarted again last year. And I'm really happy to see them transact. I know that this was not as easy for them to sell. And from what I can understand, is that Barry's is a complex product, right? And they only have a couple of franchise locations. They're mostly corporate owned, but they tend to be a bit larger. You need to really train up the instructors. You've got to have this high touch um, experience, and you need multiple people to run the studio compared to a solid core, which El Caterton acquired a couple of
Mhm.
months before, where it's 2,000 square feet, run by one person, relatively simple to operate, in terms of equipment, the instructor, they lock the door until the next class comes in. So they have very much so improved the unit economics of each location, even though they are all corporate owned. From your perspective, now that you are selling a franchise, the other thing that's been in the news has been Orange Theory and some of the struggles that they've had. You came from exponential, and you've seen some of the struggles that they've had with Row House and Stride and some other franchise locations. You and I were both at Pvolve, right, working together
Mhm.
with the team over there, and obviously, unit economics is so important when you're making a decision on um, opening up a store. Talk us a bit through the unit economics behind your brand today, and why you think it could be better either as a bolt-on, because we talked about that, where you may have, one studio in your network, that's fitness, and you could kind of come in as a bolt-on to something that's already there, and why that could help.
Absolutely. Love being in company with all the brands you mentioned and admire them all so much from the customer experience and the actual workouts themselves. I'm a fan of all of them. And what I can say that I've learned from the fitness industry into the beauty industry is the simplicity around how many people you can bring in within the hour. So in a fitness class, you start it at any given time throughout the day. Hopefully the busiest times are in the evenings or early mornings. And fill the classroom with as many people as you can before you start the class. We're really in the one-to-one service model. So we are having people come in for their 20 minutes service or even 15-minute service 3 or 4 times an hour in those 5 or 6 rooms that I talked about. And the best part about this is the labor model. So you mentioned, training instructors and building them up and paying them hourly wages and things like that. Our labor model is a little bit different. Employees make great money because 60% of their total take home pay is in the form of tips. So only 40% of what you're paying them is hitting your P&L as a business owner, which is fantastic. Your labor costs are probably 12% of your total book, and that is unheard of in the business and the for the beauty and the services industry, because you are paying them mostly in tips. We're getting tips on 15-minute services, and our staff love that. They love to walk away with a tip. They do a great job, and it really is that one-to-one service where the client experience really dictates how they're tipping on that product or service. They also get commissions on products that they sell or memberships that they sell as well, and it's a great business for them to be in. The other piece of the labor model, similar to fitness, is they absolutely love what they do. So a lot of times this is a part-time job for somebody. We have no full-time employees in our franchise locations, and those part-time staff are sometimes, a corporate employee, a student, or somebody who's looking to take on a few extra hours for a part-time work. And so having no full-time staff, no full-time manager in our stores has actually been really great for those labor costs as well. And if you do have somebody who's, like, say, a lead spray tech, right? They're in charge of the operations, the scheduling, the facilities. They're still spending 80% of their time doing the service, which is very different from the fitness model. The general manager is also not usually your star trainer, and in this case, we can marry those two together. So the labor model here is simple, and the 60% not hitting your P&L is really really attractive.
Are your members frustrated by long lines for squat racks? Equipment like squat racks are in high demand. There's a new solution that will allow your clients to train all the major muscle groups, reduce wait time, and improve your overall gym's efficiency. Curious to know more? Then contact us today. I'd like to ask a couple of questions about the business model itself, or the
Mhm.
financials. So let's say you've got a Barry's, and then you decide to put one of these next door. So
Mhm.
you've got the foot traffic coming through for your studio, but the challenge with the studio, you've kind of done a good job of outlining that. I just wondered if what are some of the differences with this business, because I see from your website that you've got a lot of consumable items. So things maybe, and I didn't go into too much detail, but my guess is there's things that maybe you put on before or put on after, and there's some treatments that you may need to do in between your various different visits, which potentially are giving you as a business owner, more opportunities to generate income outside of the moment where they come in the studio. So if I'm thinking about becoming a franchisee on this, what are the various different profit centers, and what do the margins look like in that business compared to the traditional fitness studio side of things?
Yeah, the margins are actually fantastic. 26% of our total revenue comes from the products that you're speaking of. So those are the lotions and potions that you put on your skin before or after you visit, and they're very small SKU lines for us. We sell only probably 8 or 10 products total within the store. We don't have a bunch of junk on our retail wall. It really is only things that enhance your service, which is very intentional from our founder, Melanie Richards. She only wants to sell things that actually make the service better, and I completely am on board with that. So 26% of your total the revenue comes from these products. And before you come in, you can also purchase these. But then when you're there in person, to take it home with you, extend your tan, hydrate your skin, and prepare for your next visit is really the opportunity for us to close a sale, but also increase our customer loyalty. And so that's a huge focus for us is the average ticket price as someone's visiting our store, and every single time they're coming, making sure we're recommending products that help them enhance their goGLOW.
Shifting gears here, but kind of still tied into the beauty and wellness industry. I recently read this article on Vox, kind of talking about this idea if GLP-1s and the Ozempic drugs is kind of killing this lifestyle change that we typically recommend when it relates to health and wellness. And I've got a couple of things there for you. One, would love to get your thoughts just on GLP-1s in general. For the longest time, and I read this other article separately talking through the era of the 70s. And the 70s was really highly innovative for fitness. You had Arnold and Pumping Iron came out, I think in 1972 or 77. You had Jane Fonda and her whole workout videos that really innovated a whole movement with TV videos and workouts and things like that. You had Jimmy Carter running around the White House, right? So running became a thing, and that was a big boom in the 70s. And now we have this mega boom with GLP-1 where people are losing weight and they're maybe thinking that, do I need to make these heavy lifestyle changes? So I'm just wondering, from your perspective, what are your thoughts on GLP-1? And do you think that as people are engaging in GLP-1, that they're going to rethink about how they invest in health and wellness?
It's definitely a burning topic, and I would say it's been top of mind, for me in the fitness industry for the past year, but also has a crossover into beauty. I will just tell you the way that your skin reacts to skin treatments or color does depend on the way that you're nourishing your body and also any prescriptions or drugs that you're on. And so somebody that is taking GLP-1s might have a different reaction on their skin to some of the solutions that we use. And again, those are all vegan and paraben free, but the makeup of your cells is different when you start to introduce things like that. So it's something that we ask during our consultation. And it's also, sometimes not thought about when people are taking a GLP-1 drug. They're not thinking about how their skin is going to react to a spray tan necessarily. So it is something that's, important to think how that transcends so many different areas of your life. I do think the lifestyle changes personally would be needed just from the experience that I've seen in the fitness industry. But I think the desire, again, to look and feel your best is probably a driving factor in some of the GLP-1 choices, as well as people that are coming to get a spray tan. So if someone is going down a path of making a lifestyle change, they inevitably probably want to look and feel their best, right, which is a great opportunity for us to come in and give somebody that glow. So I don't think we'll see a huge difference in how it affects our business right now, but it's definitely something we're thinking about when it comes to taking care of your skin and your body and your health overall.
What are you seeing as the demographic for this? Is this more affluent? There's an article that Ma and I were sharing previously, which talks about the downturn in some of the luxury categories, particularly some of the large luxury brands, where it seems as though that's a bit of a change, and these companies are no longer thriving as they used to be. So, are where are you positioning what you're doing? Is it for the sort of high end affluent? Is it positioned at the mid market? And also, is there any insights you've got in terms of age? What's the sort of who are doing this? Is it the younger people now that are sort of adopting some of these things? And then finally, split men and women. I was probably one of the unusual ones that was standing up on a stage in my swimming trunks, wanted to have a suntan. But is that a popular thing for guys nowadays?
Yeah, to answer that, the female male ratio for us is probably 90% women right now that are our customers, but our franchisees are about 50-50. And oftentimes our male franchise partners have come to us because they see the unit economics, they see the opportunity in the way that the world is moving. They're excited about the brand and they're excited to be the leader in the category. So I would expect to see a bigger shift into more of an evenly split male and female demographic for us. But there really are three core segments. One, which is the 18 to 25. This is the high school graduates. These are people going off to college, sorority girls that have lots of events and experiences that they want to have a natural tan look for often. Then there's the 25 to 45, which are busy professionals and oftentimes have several events throughout the year, but want to do this as an ongoing basis. This is something that makes them feel confident, that gives them that glow ongoing, and they're keeping up with it in the form of a membership. And then there's really the 45 plus, which I think is our most untapped and probably underserved group right now, which is women that are doing this in addition to all of their other beauty routines. So they are cross customers with, let's say, our lash studios, our different aesthetic brands, and potentially all the other people in the beauty space that are really the same core customer. They come to us for their goGLOW, and they go down the street or down the row of those other local businesses for all of their beauty services. Something else that we're exploring is really how goGLOW affects mature skin. So a little bit more like on the GLP-1 conversation, as your skin ages, we can adjust our solutions and our skin treatments to make sure you're getting the best results. So I'm most excited to dig into that group.
And is it does it is it something that's relatively affordable? A lot of certainly we're seeing a lot of the younger people are frequent in some of the sort of more low cost gyms and
Mhm.
paying whatever it is, 15 or $20 a month for that. Like what's the kind of investment for this? And is it a broad spectrum of people that are able to do it, or is it people at the more, the higher end of the sort of income level?
Yeah, it definitely is a luxury service, but I would say that we see that younger demographic prioritizing this over some other things that maybe they used to do. And so, an average spray tan costs $45 to come in, and that is done on a one-to-one service. You're not just standing in a spray booth and it's spraying you orange. This really is one-to-one customized for you. So I think it's very competitive, and we found that it's very competitive against other people in the industry. But I will tell you that no one is doing it in the way that we're doing with the care for the skincare line and also the proprietary products and machines that we're using that are best in class, but also good for you.
One interesting fact kind of tied into that, into like men's wellness. This came from a Mind Body online report. On average, men spend approximately $1,800 annually on health and wellness compared to 1044 for women. So men spend almost $800 more in their health and wellness, and it because there's this thinking, and maybe because we just like to think that women spend all this money on self-care and that they are, spending stuff on goods and tanning and hair and all of these things. But in reality, it's actually men that spend more. And I think men's grooming is going to be a fast segment of I think revenue for a lot of brands, because I can tell you, even for me, getting a haircut, I don't know about you, Matthew. Well, actually, Matthew, you don't get a haircut.
I don't
Um,
get one.
get a haircut.
In case you
But
haven't noticed.
it just kind of occurred to me, but I think about getting a haircut, which was maybe $10 a cut 10 years ago. I now spend
Mhm.
$55 when I go out for a haircut. And of course, there's all the
Really?
things that they're doing. I do. Yeah, this is in Arlington, Virginia. $55. They do the shampoo, they give me the warm towel, all the things. I'm sure I can go to a barber for a little bit less, but this is a barber that is close to my house, so it's convenient. But that's a lot,
Yeah.
to
How
spend.
often do you get a
So
haircut, Mo? How often do you go?
all right, now we're getting deep, but I go every 4 weeks. I go every four
See,
weeks.
very similar to a spray tan then. It's about the same price point, $55. People come to us every 4 weeks. If they're a member, they come once a month, or they can be an elite member and come twice a month. And,
There you go.
that $55 you're using for your haircut, for men at least, is very similar to what you'd pay for a spray tan. So I think it's comparable, and it's definitely part of the pie that we're trying to tap into. I always love watching what you're showing here too, which is the male segment is they care about the way that they look too, and I think sometimes we underestimate that. We're one service that they can tap into.
I've got one final question to wrap this up, because I know we are on a bit of a time crunch here. But recently, Jim Rowley, who's the CEO of Crunch Fitness, talked about the fact in an article in Fortune magazine that there's no such thing as a work-life balance. And Tori, as a recent executive, I believe this is your first role as president. You're now seeing a whole bunch of different groups within your organization, including growth, but also operations. What do you and you are also a mom, but
Mhm.
what do you yeah, how do you view work-life balance? And Jim Rowley says here that, that's for somebody who's not fully committed. I'd love to get your thoughts on a recently appointed executive, and how you kinda manage, all the things that you do.
Yes, I would have to agree that there is really no such thing for me as work life balance because I love to work in a way that is almost, obsession. But that being said, I work really hard to separate certain parts of my life. And as a new mom, it can be incredibly challenging. I have a toddler who is very demanding, but when he needs my time, I am there for him. But I've found that there is no perfect way to do it. New Year's Day, I was firing off emails. Martin Luther King Day yesterday, I was checking in with team members, and it's just part of what fuels me for keep a business going. And I think when I look at that, it's not just a business to me; it truly is an opportunity for our franchise partners to become entrepreneurs on their own. And entrepreneurs work 24/7, and so I'm here in that support role, but I really see entrepreneurship through their eyes. So it might be a little bit more of an entrepreneurship on my side, but realizing that we're operating 365 is something that I'm committed to, and it's hard for work life balance, but I think that that's what you sign up for if you're in a retail service business.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, people talk about this ideal state of work-life balance, but really something always gives, whether it's,
Mhm.
family or something else at work. I mean, it's really hard to it's all about prioritizing and being in the moment and really kind of, to me at least, focusing. So if I'm, with my wife or with my kids, you need to be intentional and present in that moment. And when you're at work, kind of focused on that as well. Matthew, any final thoughts on this episode?
Well, I actually interviewed Jim Riley a few years ago for the podcast, and we did have, from now you've raised that, we did have a similar conversation. I think we were talking about the sort of 8-hour work week kind of idea and passive income and a few of these sorts of things. But I think at the time he was very much, look, I've never met any entrepreneur that's got to the top of the game without sort of working their balls off, metaphorically speaking. And I kind of agree. I think, if you're in a business and it's very well established and you've sort of exited yourself in that position, then yeah, you probably can get away with it. But I've certainly struggled to, if certainly if you're getting something going and started and trying to get out there, then I think that must be very difficult. And I certainly admire you. Like my wife does the same, Tori, and I admire women that have children. They just have some sort of different gene to what us guys have to be able to sort of juggle all those things in their head and keep the house going and everything. So yeah, I admire what you're able to pull together, Tori.
Oh, thank you. I'll leave you guys with one final thing that I think relates to this, which is a poster that I saw up at the gym my husband goes to that it says, like Arnold didn't get his body by scrolling Instagram at the gym. And I think it's exactly that. If you're at the gym scrolling Instagram between sets, or if you are on a work call but you're distracted somewhere else, or if you have 1,000 tabs open every single day, you'll never get the full attention. And so that's always been the way that I approach kind of work and home life.
Well, that is a fantastic way to wrap up this episode. Tori, thank you so much for joining us in this episode of Lifts. I don't think we ever ended it, Matthew, with a quote, with an Arnold quote at that.
No,
So that was great.
that's the first. Thank you very much, Tori, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you do, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who you think will find valuable. Thanks very much for listening.